Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today, we're going to be tackling Angkor Thom.
Ooh,
That's right.
big one.
The grandest and like the final capital
Yeah,
of the Khmer Empire.
it's a big one.
And we're really going to zero in on the guy who was behind it all,
Right.
King Jayavarman VII.
That's right.
And what kind of ruler was he? What did he believe?
Yeah.
And how is all of that reflected in this incredible city? That's what we're going to be looking at.
Right.
And we've got a ton of different sources here.
Yeah.
We've got encyclopedias. We've got online resources.
Yep.
We even have some travel guides to get that,
On the ground perspective?
that tourist's perspective.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what we find out.
Let's dig in.
Yeah. So, just to set the stage here,
Okay.
Jayavarman VII, he comes to power in the late 12th century,
Right.
like right after the Khmer had driven back the Cham invaders.
Major upheaval.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, what does that mean for how he approaches building Angkor Thom?
Well, I think you got to think about what it must have felt like to reclaim a throne after all that chaos.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, this is where building a magnificent new capital comes in.
Right.
It's a power move.
Right.
Right. You show everybody, hey, I'm in charge.
It's a flex.
Total flex. Yeah. Military strength, religious devotion.
Okay, so we have a warrior king. He's stamping his authority on the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where I get a little confused.
Okay.
Wasn't there already like a city there?
Yeah.
I remember reading about Yasadarapura,
Uh-huh.
an older Khmer capital.
Right.
Did they like just build right over it?
It's not that simple.
Okay.
See, the sources, they suggest that the Khmers, they didn't see these as two, completely separate things.
Okay.
So Angkor Thom actually incorporated some older temples
Yeah?
from Yasadarapur. So
Right.
you've got the Bafuan, you've got Phimianakas.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting.
So it's like instead of a clean slate, it's more like,
Layers.
yeah, it's like an architectural palimpsest, like building on what came before.
And that makes a lot of sense because it shows that continuity.
Great.
But you're still forging something new.
Right.
And, speaking of layering meaning,
Okay.
that is really key to understanding Angkor Thom.
Right.
So picture this. You're arriving at the city gates for the first time.
Okay, I'm there.
What do you see?
I mean, from the descriptions I've read,
Right.
it sounds pretty intimidating. There are walls, massive walls, 8 meters high,
Whoa, yeah.
a moat surrounding the whole city.
Right.
It's show of force for sure.
Exactly. 9 square kilometers.
Right.
Enclosed by those walls.
It's huge.
It was meant to impress.
Yeah.
But remember what we talked about layering.
Okay.
Angkor Thom wasn't just designed as a fortress. It was actually laid out as a giant
Nope.
mandala.
A mandala.
Yeah.
Like a spiritual diagram.
Right.
How does that even work for a
Yeah.
whole city?
That's what's so cool. The walls, they represent the continents. The moat is the ocean.
Oh, wow.
And at the very center,
Okay.
you've got the Bayon temple.
Right.
That's Mount Meru,
Okay.
the sacred mountain in both Buddhist and Hindu cosmology.
So like he took a cosmic blueprint and made it on Earth.
Basically.
Wow. That's ambitious.
Yeah.
So he's not just a warrior king.
Yep.
He's like really tapping into this powerful religious symbolism.
Yeah.
Which brings me to those famous smiling faces.
Yeah.
All over the Bayon. Who are they?
That's the mystery of the Bayon faces.
Right.
Scholars are still debating.
Right.
Some say it's the Bodhisattva of Avalokiteshvara.
Okay.
Others think it's a Buddha. Or even, and this is where it gets really interesting,
Right.
the king himself.
The king is as divine figure.
Mm-hmm.
That really fits with the whole cosmic mandala idea.
Right.
But it also raises some questions about how he saw his role as ruler.
Absolutely. Was he a god king, blending political power with spiritual authority?
Right. Oh, and speaking of blending,
Yeah.
there's this detail about the bridges leading into this city that has always bugged me.
Okay.
They're covered in these epic scenes
Yeah.
of gods and demons pulling on this giant serpent.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that the churning of the ocean of milk?
It is.
But that's a Hindu myth.
It is.
And Jayavarman VII, he was a devout Buddhist.
Right.
So why is there this prominent Hindu imagery in his Buddhist city?
Well, it suggests that things were complicated.
Right.
Right? Maybe the population had a mix of faiths,
Right.
and maybe the churning myth was kind of reinterpreted
Okay.
to fit with that mandala design.
Okay.
So it emphasizes the cosmic symbolism rather than the specific deities.
Okay.
It's fascinating. It's like how much was actually going on in Khmer society
Right.
Yeah, it really makes you think about like all these layers of meaning, right? Like embedded right there in the city's design.
Totally. And speaking of layers,
Yeah,
we got to talk about the Bayon Temple. It's like right at the center of it all.
at the heart of the mandala.
Right. And I've always been captivated by those pictures. You know, like it's just a mountain of faces rising out of the jungle.
It's pretty amazing.
Can you like walk us through what it's actually like to be there?
Okay, so imagine this. You're walking through these enclosures,
Okay.
and each one rises higher,
Okay.
leading you towards that central sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
And you get this sense of ascending, you know, like you're moving closer to something sacred.
Wow.
It's like built into the architecture.
And the whole time, those giant faces are just staring down at you,
Oh, yeah.
right?
There are over 200 of them.
Oh, wow.
Each one about 4 meters tall.
It's huge.
Yeah. Gazing out in all 4 directions.
Yeah. It must be overwhelming.
It's a powerful experience for sure.
Yeah.
And it really reinforces that idea of the Bayon as Mount Meru,
Right.
with those faces like cosmic guardians
Yeah.
surveying the whole world.
It's the smiles that always get to me,
Yeah.
you know? Like, they're not exactly joyful, right?
Right.
It's more like,
Knowing.
yeah.
Nowhere
right.
little unsettling.
Yeah.
That's part of what makes them so fascinating.
Right.
Like, is it benevolence or is it haunting?
Right. And it's all in the eyes.
Right.
Or the smile, I guess, in this case.
It's like he wanted to evoke that ambiguity.
It makes you wonder, you know,
Yeah.
what was he going for? Like, was it to inspire awe or maybe even instill a little fear?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
He had to project power and spiritual authority.
Right.
So those smiles, they could be interpreted in different ways depending on who's looking at them.
Right.
You know, maybe a common subject feels a sense of peace and protection,
Yeah.
but a rival king might see a warning.
It's pretty clever
It is.
using architecture like that.
Yeah.
You've got those bas reliefs
Oh, yeah.
all over the walls of the Bayon.
They're incredible.
I've heard they depict like everything.
Pretty much. Daily life, epic battles.
Right. So it's a treasure trove of information
Absolutely.
about Khmer society
It gives us a glimpse of what life was like
for the everyday person.
for everyday people living in and around Angkor Thom.
So we've got the cosmic symbolism of the mandala,
Right.
the enigmatic faces gazing out,
Uh-huh.
and then these like detailed stories etched into the stone.
It's like the Bayon was meant to encompass everything,
It really was.
like every aspect of existence.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that raises an interesting question.
Okay.
How much of this was for his own glorification
Right.
versus a genuine desire to express like Buddhist ideals?
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about him to me. You know,
Yeah.
you see these ambitious projects, right?
Right.
This grand vision
Right.
of a city as a microcosm of the universe, but then also those hints of his personal piety
Right.
and this emphasis on compassion.
Yeah.
It's like a puzzle.
It is a puzzle that continues to fascinate.
Totally.
Now, if we move beyond the Bayon itself, we can't forget the other structures that give us a glimpse into life at Angkor Thom,
Right.
especially for those at the top.
You're talking about the Royal Palace complex?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Terrace of the Elephants,
Right.
the Terrace of the Leper King.
Yeah. I mean, the names alone.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
Sadly, much of the palace is gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but these terraces, they're really well preserved.
Oh, wow.
And they offer a unique window into the grandeur
Okay.
and ceremony of royal life.
So let's step back in time.
Okay.
We're attending a royal procession.
All right.
What are we seeing?
Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
You're standing on the Terrace of the Elephants.
Okay.
It's a massive platform,
Yeah.
over 100 meters long,
Why?
adorned with incredible carvings,
Oof.
elephants, and Garudas,
Of course.
of course.
Yeah.
So this was probably a prime viewing spot
Okay.
for royal events, parades,
Makes sense.
diplomatic receptions.
Right. So the elephants, they weren't just a decoration.
Oh, no. They were symbols of power
Right.
for the Khmer,
Right.
vital in warfare transportation.
Yeah.
And they were even considered sacred animals.
Right.
So having them prominently displayed in the palace complex,
Yeah.
that's a power move.
Yeah, for sure.
Big time.
And then there's the Terrace of the Leper King.
Right.
I mean, the name is a little unsettling.
It is a bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the terrace is named after a statue found there.
Okay.
It's a nude male figure.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's missing its arms and legs now.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And the origins and meaning of the statue are still debated. But one theory links it to a legend of a Khmer king
Okay.
suffering from leprosy.
So the legend kind of attached itself to the statue.
Right, even if we don't know who it depicts.
Okay.
But there are other interpretations. Some
Right.
scholars believe that it might actually represent Yama,
Who's Yama?
the Hindu god of death.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we have a mysterious, limbless statue.
Right.
Maybe a king, maybe a god of death?
It's a classic deep dive.
I know, right?
Yeah, and it really gets to the heart of how even within this grand, religiously inspired city,
Right.
like Angkor Thom,
Yeah.
there were hints of darkness,
Yeah.
mortality, the inevitable decline
Yeah.
that even empires face.
Right? Empires, they don't last forever.
Nope.
It reminds us that all things are impermanent,
They are.
even those built of stone.
True.
And yet here they are,
I know, it's remarkable.
still standing
Yeah.
centuries later.
Yeah. And it's fascinating to consider how much of what we see
Yeah.
is a result not just of Jayavarman VII's vision,
Right.
but also like the forces of history and nature that reshaped Angkor Thom.
Yeah. That's a good point. It really makes you think, like we've walked through the gates of Angkor Thom,
Yeah.
explored the symbolism of the Bayon,
Uh-huh.
even pictured ourselves, like witnessing a royal procession.
Yeah.
But all of this grandeur,
Right.
it raises this big question for me.
Okay.
What happened after Jayavarman VII? Like, did his successors keep building?
That's where the story gets really interesting.
Okay.
Remember how we said Angkor Thom was the last great capital of the Khmer Empire?
Yeah, that always makes me wonder, was it all downhill from there?
Not necessarily downhill,
Good.
but definitely a period of change.
Right.
None of Jayavarman VII's successors really matched his impact. Construction projects slowed down.
Okay.
And eventually, Angkor Thom was abandoned as the capital.
And wow, that's a big shift.
Yeah, it is.
So what happened? Was it sudden or was it gradual?
It seems like more of a slow fade.
Okay.
Historians point to a bunch of different factors.
Like what?
Well, you've got pressure from neighboring kingdoms,
Right.
changes in regional trade routes,
Okay.
maybe even environmental challenges.
Hmm.
It's like a reminder that even the most impressive empires,
Right.
they're vulnerable
Yeah.
to the ebb and flow of history.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to imagine, like this bustling city just slowly being reclaimed by the jungle.
It is, but here's the thing.
Okay.
Even though it was abandoned as a capital,
Yeah.
Angkor Thom wasn't totally forgotten.
Oh, okay.
Local people, they continued to live in and around the temples.
So life went on amongst the ruins.
Exactly. And over the centuries, the jungle grew back,
Right.
creating those iconic images we see today. The
Yeah.
trees entwined with the stonework.
It's beautiful.
It's like nature became a part of Angkor Thom's story,
Yeah.
like preserving it in a new form.
That makes the rediscovery of Angkor in the 19th century by European explorers even more incredible.
I know, right?
Like a lost world coming back to life.
And that narrative totally captured imaginations.
Yeah.
Those images of ancient temples
Right.
peeking out from the jungle?
Yeah.
They really sparked renewed interest in the Khmer Empire.
I can see why.
Yeah, their art, their history.
It's like Jayavarman VII and his grand city got a second act.
They did. Centuries later.
That's pretty amazing.
And that rediscovery has led to decades of research. Right.
Conservation efforts and, of course, tourism.
Right. But that always comes with its own set of challenges.
Yeah, you're talking about that balance
Yeah.
between preserving these ancient sites
Right.
and making them accessible to visitors.
It's a problem a lot of places face.
It is.
Yeah, but it's a testament to their power
Yeah.
that people are still drawn to them.
You're right. They remind us of the ingenuity
Right.
and creativity of past civilizations.
And in the case of Angkor Thom,
Yeah.
it's that unique vision of Jayavarman VII.
Uh-huh.
He sought to create a city
Right.
reflecting the cosmos.
Even though his empire faded,
Right.
Angkor Thom still stands
Yeah.
as this powerful testament to his ambition
Yeah.
and the artistry of the Khmer people.
It's a legacy carved in stone, woven into the jungle, and now shared with the world.
It is.
It really makes you think about what our cities will leave behind,
I know what stories will our buildings tell.
Right.
What values will they embody?
That's an incredible thought to end on.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Angkor Thom
Yeah, this was great.
and the legacy of Jayavarman VII.
Fascinating guy.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep asking questions.
Absolutely.